This is true.
While you're waiting, don't forget to head over to Course Correction Radio. Scroll all the way down to the bottom of your page, and there you will see a place where you can register your email. That way, no matter what happens with the YouTube engine, you're always notified whenever we upload a video. And the best thing is, we can bypass those notification systems, go directly to your email. So head over coursecorrectionradio.com and subscribe to our email list. Also, while you're over there, if you hit that little star under each post, you'll be able to subscribe and be notified that way. Thanks, guys, and we'll be right back with today's show.
This is true, then our country is in a lot of trouble.
We would have these trips, these special trips.
But he said my daddy takes the bodies to the grocery store and he grinds them up and puts it in the hamburger. And nobody ever knows it.
How can kids 6, 8, 10 years old be describing rituals that come from a book like the Book of the Dead? It's hard to get your mind around people being capable of this kind of evil.
This is true, then.
Ezekiel chapter 38, starting in verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back, and put hooks into thy jaws, and bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all of his bands, the house of Togarmah and of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Hello, friends, and welcome back to 33.3 News, right here on Course Correction Radio. And, of course, we are trying to be the watchmen on the wall, as should we all be. And we need to talk about what is going on. Of course, there's a lot of bloodshed going on in Russia, or rather in Ukraine, with the invasion of Russia into Ukraine. And I need to say this right off the bat. There's a lot of stuff that is boiling under the surface that, of course, we as the plebes will never be told all of the extent of what's going on. But you best believe that not everything is as it meets the eye. The bottom line, really, though, is it shouldn't matter, because regardless of who the actual aggressor is, innocent civilians, and by innocent I mean people that have nothing to do with anything that is going on between the leadership there. These innocents are being killed. This is from ABC7.com. 150,000 Ukrainians flee as troops zero in on Kiev. At least 64 civilians killed in Ukraine, UN says. Now, keep in mind, this is coming from the UN, who isn't always trustworthy, but, I mean, common sense does tell us that civilians are going to die in situations like this. And so the best thing that you or I or anyone else could do for these civilians and these families there is pray, not only for their physical well-being, but pray that the gospel can change their lives, because we need, that's our calling here. That's the one calling that every follower of Christ has, is to go out and teach all nations. And that's what you and I need to do, is we need to pray that the gospel gets to these people. Now, there's a little more to this story that I find interesting. It says nations to block some Russian banks from SWIFT. And now, I'll be honest, I don't know what SWIFT is, so let's read some of this article. The United Nations says it has confirmed at least 240 civilian casualties, including at least 64 people killed in the fighting in Ukraine that erupted since Russia's invasion on Thursday, though it is believed the real figures are considerably higher. That's a quote. Real figures are considerably higher, end quote, because many reports of casualties remain to be confirmed. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs relayed the count late Saturday from the UN Human Rights Office, which has strict methodologies and verification procedures about the toll from blah, blah, blah. So the OCHA also said damage to civilian infrastructure has deprived hundreds of thousands of people of access to electricity or water, and produced a map of humanitarian situations, that's another quote, in Ukraine, mostly in northern and eastern and southern Ukraine. Human Rights Office has reported early Friday an initial count by its staffers, or at least 127 civilian casualties, 25 people killed, 102 injured, mostly from shelling and airstrikes. Now, there is, and let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Because there is footage of some of this stuff. Now, me being the skeptic that I am very skeptical of released footage. So, and the main reason for that is, footage, well, let's just put it this way. Footage can be doctored to make, to basically start dividing people from one side to another. So, but here's one of them. Let's see.
So what is NLAW, and why am I making a video about it? Good questions. Firstly, NLAW is the British Army's name for the Saab Bofors developed MBT Law. In the early 2000s, the British Army was looking for a more capable replacement of its Law 80. The Saab offering the next generation light anti-tank weapon won the contract in 2002, beating out several competitors, including the SARW-based Kestrel. Secondly, I'm making this video as I'm interested in anti-tank weapons, and the UK has just announced the transfer of light anti-tank weapons to Ukraine in light of the continuing tensions with Russia. The UK is the latest nation to announce that they will be providing weapons.
So that gives you an idea of some of the carnage that is coming. The UK sending weapons over now. Let's see, there was some other stuff. I don't have time to look for it. If I can find it, I will link it in the show notes below. But, there's going to be several different things getting involved here. Now, one of the videos that we will be linking as well is, normally I do not at least on this show, on 33.3 News, I normally only plug coursecorrectionradio.com because that's where you're going to find a lot of our news. With the news stuff, I try to keep it self-contained. However, on this episode, I played the trailer for Dark Covenant from NYSTV because I'll be plugging an NYSTV
Ours both
video.
good and bad.
So this video is called Gog of Tartaria Rising, Jubilees 10, World War III, and Bible Prophecy. Now, this is a video that if you are well-versed in the scriptures and are not prone to anxiousness, and if you are prone to anxiousness, I understand subjects like this can make people very anxious. So if that's you, maybe this isn't for you, but if you want to stay in the know, you want to be, a watchman, and you want to see what's going on around you, this is an episode that I recommend every watchman watch. It goes into the history of, that's why we read this passage about Gog and Magog. This goes into a lot of that. Talks about how Tartarian warlords were known as Gogs. Talks about how Gog is the chief prince of these principalities. And now he was known in the book of Jubilees as Mastema. He was the one who asked, according to the book of Jubilees, asked God to save 10% of the demonic entities for him and lock the other 90% inside the bottomless pit. Those who will one day arise with the Assyrian, or Apollyon as he is known, out of the bottomless pit. Now, there's stuff that I do not have time to get into, but a link to this video will be put in the show notes for you to see, because this is one of those situations. Basically, what they talk about is how when Gog is unleashed, the Tartarian warlords are going to rise again, and World War III could essentially start because of it. So let's see, because there's another interesting article that I think we need to look at, and this is from the Epoch Times. Let me see if I can find it. Excuse me.